Sa gitna ng samot-saring isyong ibinabato laban sa kanyang pamilya, nananatiling matibay at may paninindigan para sa bayan. Bitbit ang mga pangakong pagbabago para sa ikabuunlad ng bansa. Trabaho para sa mga Pilipino, murang kuryente, industrialisasyon, kalidad na edukasyon, reforma sa iba't ibang sektor, at pagkakaisa ng sambayanang Pilipino ang sentro ng kanyang kampanya.
Bilang Pangulo ng Republika ng Pilipinas, sinabi ko na ako'y tatakbo dahil ang aking layunin, ang aking pangarap para sa ating bansa ay pagkaisa muli ang sambayanang Pilipino. Pagandahin po natin ang ating minamahal na bansang Pilipinas. Sama-sama po tayong mapamulit.
Tumatakbong Pangulo mula sa Partido Federal ng Pilipinas, Ferdinand Bongo Marcos Jr.
You may now sit down, Senator Marcos. Good evening.
Good evening.
May we request the audience to please sit down so we can start the program.
I brought all my relatives.
Everyone, can we ask everyone to please sit down so we can start the program? Okay. Thank you for your cooperation. Thank you. Okay. Senator Marcos, you have the floor, and the panelists will be asking you questions.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Marcos.
Good evening, ma'am.
If this were, I've never been to a campaign rally, but if this looks like it, and maybe multiplied so many times over, I can imagine what they're feeling is like euphoria, isn't it? Because we're not even involved and we are feeling euphoric here.
It's very encouraging, ma'am. That's true.
Da MediaWorld arrivano i super sconti di primavera. In negozi online approfitta.
Su Now, riparte la sfida per diventare il nuovo re.
Tutta la Formula 1 in streaming a 9,99 € per il primo mese. Entra ora in app. Quante auto vorresti? un'elettrica per la città.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Senator,
Yes, yes.
I hope you don't mind. I'd like to switch topics a little bit because we have a short period to ask so many issues.
All right.
I'd like to ask about agriculture because you mentioned that in the last time you were here. One of the biggest problems that the sector is facing is the aging of farmers.
Yes.
One study I've read said that their average age is between 57 and 59. And the worst thing is their children don't want to go into agriculture. And this observation is supported by declining enrollment in agricultural programs of SUCs across the nation. And last, the Secretary of Agriculture last year said that we may be facing a critical shortage of farmers in as little as 12 years. And he said this last year. So maybe you'd like to share with us what your plans are regarding this issue.
Regarding the age of farmers getting older, not only are they discouraged to come in, their parents who are farmers, they say, wag na kayong pumasok dito, napakahirap ng buhay dito. Mag-aral kayo, pumunta kayo sa Manila, pumunta kayo sa city, dyan kayo magpagaling para hindi nyo na kailangan daanan itong dinadaanan namin. That's the state of the agriculture in the Philippines today. As a general rule, as a general concept, I think we have to really shift already from what is essentially still mom and pop operation and talk about agribusiness and talk about the industry of agriculture. And there are many things that we need to do to achieve that, to get to that point. See, let's go back to the issue of the age of our farmers and the young people who are not going into agriculture. If it is an agribusiness, if it is not the traditional farming method that we are always going through, that we have been doing for the last millennia, but move into something that is more high-tech, then that will necessarily need for the entry into more technically minded agribusiness practitioners, and that will bring the age younger immediately. I know already for myself, young people, people in their 30s who have discovered some new technology or have come across a new thing. Bagay sa atin to, gawin natin. And they do, and they have brought all kinds of new techniques to farming, but it's not yet extensive because there are no encouragements coming from government in terms of tax breaks, in terms of I don't really believe in subsidies in that regard, but I still think that we can improve the attractiveness of the agricultural sector to younger people if we use the most modern, most interesting technology. And like the kids say, they can geek it out. Right? They'll just pag-aralan nila ng mabuti. That's a very interesting. It will become a very interesting line of work.
Is there an important role for government to play? Because if you look at the public spending on agriculture in the Philippines, it's only about 1.7% of the national budget, far below what is being spent in other ASEAN countries.
It's been that, and it has been that way for a long time. I think we have really neglected agriculture because we had a system set up where the entire value chain was attended to by government. And of course, the private sector practitioners come into the picture during the trading and in the market. But that was dismantled in 1986 and has not been a replacement for it. So we have to do it again. And if we look at the countries that we are competing with in terms of rice production, for example, they're Thailand and Vietnam, the obvious ones. Their cost of production is lower. The labor, segment of their production cost is 1/2 of ours. And that's due to mechanization. We have not mechanized at all. It's going to take, it's not a simple thing because we have to organize now
to be able to mechanize properly, to use the big machines, the big tractors, the big harvesters, yung nakikita natin sa ibang bansa na ginagamit na kalaki-laki, na ang bilis-bilis, siguro sa isang araw, ilang hektarya na nakocover nila. Pero ang average na land holding dito sa Pilipinas is less than 1 hectare. So hindi mo magamit yung mga ganung klaseng makina. So the way to do it, or the way we did it in Ilocos, was we organized the cooperatives. And in that way, we were able to take full advantage of economies of scale. And I think that's what we need to do here in the Philippines now. But there are other things that need to be done as well. We have, I think the fact that we are importing galunggong has been made very, very public. It's been very, very clear that it is quite a surprise for that for us to get into that situation. But again, it really comes from a neglect and the agricultural sector. So the things we have to do the research and development for the new varieties, for the new yung nag-aalaga ng hayop, paano yung gagawin yung pagkalat ng mga inahin. Again, these are different schemes that we have to put together. In our fisheries, there is a very, very good potential for us kung ayusin lang natin ang ating kinukuhanan ng isda. Number one, bigyan natin yung mga mangingisda na mas malaking bangka. Maliliit lang yung bangka nila eh. And they have to go out already 12 kilometers kasi overfish na dito sa loob. And then of course, patrol so that maraming nagpo-poach sa atin. So we have to have all the best techniques and technologies for our farmers and for our fishermen. Fisher folk. So that's just the beginning of it. And then the support. Now, one of the biggest problems that the agricultural industry is facing right now in terms of crops is urea is 2,500 pesos now. And we know of many areas where farmers just didn't plant. And that kills our production. Taas na naman ang importation natin. Because importation, kung minsan, kung kulang talaga. Kung pabayaan mo yan, tataas naman ang presyo, hindi na kaya ng tao. Kaya talagang kailangan ayusin yung agrikultura. So you have to support, the government has to support that. This question of urea, for example, siguro ang gobyerno lang bibili in bulk. Hundreds of tons of urea, and then isama na yan sa production loan bago planting season. Magbibigay ka ng production loan sa farmer, yung iba pera, yung iba seedlings, yung iba abono, the fertilizer at saka yung pesticide. And then you could support them with new techniques, the techno demos, teach them what are the new plants, what are the new techniques, how you can save water, how you can save on the other inputs, etc., etc. And then the processing. It should not really be allowed anymore. Dapat in the year 2022, dapat wala na tayong nakikitang palay na tinutuyo sa highway. Dahil dapat meron na tayong binigay. Yan, si Rolex knows this well because sa local talagang yun ang problema eh. So, tapos yung mga milling, dapat talaga meron tayong milling na small scale, large scale, depending on what everyone. So the value stays with the farmer. Hindi pumupunta sa trader na may malaking milling na planta. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the traders. They have a part to play. But let's keep as much of the value added and give it back to the farmer. And then, if we're able to do that, gumanda ang ating production, bumura ang ating production cost, we can directly sell it. And the kadiwa is the example that we always use. We can sell it to the public at a lower price, assuming the government will not make a profit, because the government should not make a profit. So they should be able to sell these basic agricultural products for less.
Subscribe to SMNI News Channel.
Aspetta
On notification button for more news updates. is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Mr. Marcos, we all know that your campaign's theme is unity. And recently, you made a statement on an issue that, would test your call for unity because this issue is really polarizing in our country. And I'm referring to your statement on LGBTQ rights. And so my question is, there are a lot of interests that had to be balanced here, especially that even though that we are a secular country, our people, around 80% of our people have really, really strong religious beliefs. And these two things, are always contrary to each other. So my question is, how will you balance the legitimate aim of protecting the rights and welfare of LGBTQ people while at the same time respecting the legitimate interests of religious groups that they can freely pursue their belief on this matter?
I don't think LGBTQ issues are polarizing in the Philippines. Honestly. I think we are much more open-minded about it, considering the fact that we are in fact very Roman Catholic country. But then you must, and so that I don't think it's polarizing at all. I think Filipinos are, I don't know how to put it, but we're much cooler than most other places when it comes to these things. And I think when I talk to the members of that community, wala namang hinihingi na special treatment ang mga LGBTQ. Wag lang do not discriminate against us. Yun lang naman yun eh. We don't want a special program for you, for ourselves. We want to, do something. Just patas lang. Patas lang, pare-pareho lang. Na kahit LGBTQ kami, kahit matanda kami, kahit come from the wrong place, I don't know, whatever. All forms of discrimination are some things that we have to guard against because that's corrosive. That just gets in the way. It doesn't help. It doesn't help anything. So that I think is the approach to LGBTQ issues: is just fight discrimination every step of the way. There's a pool of talent in every sector of our society that we need to take advantage of, and so we cannot exclude any part and say hindi pwede yan, hindi na ayaw namin sa ganyan. And let me get to the point. I mean, LGBTQ, Roman Catholic, you say that it's a. What did the Pope say when he was asked about same-sex marriage? Same-sex union. Let me correct myself. Same-sex union. And I think the Pope said it perfectly. Who am I to judge? And that's the attitude that all of us should have. And with that, I think we'll go down the correct place. We will go down the right path.
Subscribe to SMNI News Channel and turn on notification button for more news updates. This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Okay, there is I know, Mr. Marcos, that
Professor Carlos, I know you're gonna love me for this. You're wearing your sunglasses again.
Ay, mag-forgive na kayo ha. You will all be 75 also. Unless you die young. Hello. Humirit pa yan. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a sense that this will be the last time I shall interact with you in a venue like this. So, let me introduce something which I have tested in my class on elites in politics. And this involves moving into an area called predicting leadership decision-making. So I hope you don't mind if I give you 3 short questions, but they are related to each other. And it will give our people a chance to know you in terms of your leadership style. The first question is, Do you think that you're basically an optimist rather than a pessimist? Number two, do you think you are basically a high risk taker rather than a low risk taker? You'll notice the two are related. And the third question is, do you think you are Machiavellian?
Well, the first question is if I'm an optimist or a pessimist. I'm essentially an optimist. And the reason I'm essentially an optimist, because especially when we talk about the country, we are optimists. I am optimistic because our biggest asset is the Filipino people, and it's not I try to be very objective about it, ma'am. I have traveled all over the world. I have not met a better people than Filipinos in every possible. Am I a risk taker or not? When it comes to national issues, I tend towards a conservative only because a mistake will cost so much suffering to so many people. In other words, you have to be very careful with the decisions you make. And it's not something that you do offhand. You think about it very hard. You talk to as many people as you can. And you make absolutely certain that you have done everything that you can possibly do to make whatever your plan is, to make it work. Am I Machiavellian? Well, I've studied him quite thoroughly. And I know very many Machiavellians in my life. But
Is it Machiavelli in terms of taking every means to produce an end, not the other Machiavellian, the bad Machiavellian?
Well, certainly, we have to be aware of everything that is going to help whatever it is that you are hoping to achieve. And on a national scale, that means you have to understand very well what the situation is on the ground. Ganito kasi, sitwasyon ng mga tao, ito na ngayon sila. Nasa gitna pa ng pandemya, walang trabaho yung mga yan. Umaasa pa rin yan sa tupad, sa IX, etc. O paano tayo lalabas niyan? Where will what are the other countries doing? Kailangan maging maingat so I suppose in the same sense, as you say, that these questions were related, it's a way of being careful and being very, very knowledgeable about what are the things that have to come into play so that you will achieve success, whatever that success, however you define that success. So in that sense, yes, ma'am, I am a Machiavellian.
Yeah, thank you. In future, if you have time, please come to the university and I will discuss with you. It's called the Operational Code Construct. Thank you very much.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you po very much. Thank you.
Please subscribe, Pia Paulo.
Subscribe to SMNI News
Love you
channel
all.
and turn on
PDMs. God bless.